Did you know there was a time when watching a movie at home required a 2-pound plastic brick and a machine that hummed, whirred, and occasionally ate your favorite film? Or that the satisfying ker-chunk of a phone dial was a regular part of daily life? We live in an age where everything is instant, digital, and tucked neatly into our pockets. But just a few decades ago, the tech that shaped our lives was gloriously analog, clunky, and wonderfully tangible. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the vault of forgotten gadgets. We're talking about the devices that were once cutting edge, the tech that defined an era but have now faded into the dusty corners of our memories. Get ready for a trip back to the 80s and 90s, because you're about to remember some relics you didn't even realize you'd forgotten. Here is the 25 tech relics from the 80s and 90s you've totally forgotten. But before that, please subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss our next nostalgic videos. VHS tapes and VCRs. There was a time when the ultimate movie night ritual began not with a streaming service search, but with the satisfying clatter of a plastic clamshell case. The VHS tape was king, a bulky black rectangle that held a universe of cinematic wonders. But to watch it, you needed the VCR, a hulking black box with satisfyingly mechanical buttons, play, rewind, and the ever-dreaded tracking knob. This wasn't just about watching a movie, it was a full experience. You had to physically rewind the tape, a chore you'd often forget, leading to a late fee. You'd press the tracking button for a clearer picture. And the sound of the tape whirring, that was the sound of a story beginning. The VHS and VCR were the heart of home entertainment, a symbol of a time when media was a physical object you could hold, collect, and even lend to a friend. They were a magical gateway to entertainment, but as streaming and DVDs arrived, their bulky reign came to a quiet, grainy end. Audio cassette tapes. Before the shuffle playlist and endless music libraries, the audio cassette was the soundtrack of a generation. It was a simple plastic case with 2 spools of magnetic tape, but within that humble shell was the power of a mixtape. Creating a mixtape was an art form, a painstaking process of hitting record at just the right time, creating a personal playlist for a friend or a crush. You'd use a pencil to manually wind the tape if it got stuck. The iconic hiss of the tape, the clicking of the buttons, the distinct sound of a song starting and stopping, these were all part of the experience. We didn't have algorithms, we had personalized mixtapes. It was a tangible form of music that you could hold, copy for friends, with a bit of a degradation in quality, and meticulously label with your favorite songs. The cassette was a symbol of analog love in a digital world, a piece of tech that brought music to the masses and created a lasting legacy in our collective memory. Rotary phones. In an era of instant gratification and lightning-fast communication, it's hard to imagine a phone that took more than a few seconds to dial. Enter the rotary phone, a solid, heavy device with a circular dial that required patience and a deliberate finger. To make a call, you'd place your finger in a numbered slot and turn the dial all the way around, releasing it with a satisfying snap as it whirred back into place. Each number was a physical action, a deliberate commitment to making a connection. If you dialed the wrong number, you had to start all over again. There was no delete key or backspace. This was not a portable device. It was an anchor to the home, often situated in a central hallway with a long, curly cord that you could stretch to your limit. The rotary phone was a symbol of a slower, more deliberate form of communication, a beautiful piece of design that forced us to slow down and truly connect with each other. It was a beautiful, satisfying relic of a bygone era. Pagers or beepers. Before the constant buzzing of a smartphone, there was the subtle yet urgent beep of a pager. This was the first true form of mobile communication, a small device clipped to your belt that would flash a phone number. If you wanted to get in touch with someone, you'd have to call their number and then punch in your own using the numeric keypad on the phone. The pager would then display that number, and the recipient would have to find a phone to call you back. This was not about instant messaging, it was about delayed gratification and the thrill of the chase. The beeper was the ultimate accessory, a status symbol that told the world you were important enough to be reached. It was a simpler time, a time when a beep was not a distraction, but a signal that someone wanted to talk to you. The pager was a crucial step in the evolution of mobile tech, a small device that laid the groundwork for the constant connectivity we have today, a forgotten relic of a simpler time. Answering machines with physical tapes. Remember the days before voicemail, when a physical box with a little cassette tape was your digital doorman. The answering machine was a marvel of technology, a way to screen your calls and ensure you never missed a message. You'd record a generic greeting, often with a robotic voice, and when someone called, they would hear your voice telling them to leave a message. The messages were stored on a tiny physical tape, which you would then have to rewind and listen to, often with a chorus of garbled voices and the occasional hang-up. You could fast forward and rewind to get to a specific message. This wasn't about instant messages, it was about coming home and checking your physical messages. The little red light would blink, a signal that you had a message waiting. The answering machine was a testament to a time when technology was simple, tangible, and wonderfully personal. It was a magical little box that held all of your missed conversations, a forgotten relic of a simpler time. Floppy disks. Before the gigabytes and terabytes of cloud storage, there was the floppy disk, a surprisingly fragile square of plastic that held a paltry amount of data. It was the original portable storage device, a physical object that you could carry with you to transfer files between computers. The 5.25-inch disks were, in fact, floppy, a flimsy piece of technology that you could literally bend in half. They were then replaced by the sturdier 3.5-inch disks, which were a small revolution in themselves. You'd hear the satisfying clack as you inserted the disk into your computer, and the telltale whirring as it read the data. You had to be careful with them because they were easily corrupted. You'd put a small sticker on the front to label the contents. The floppy disk was a symbol of an era when file sizes were tiny, and data was something you could hold in your hand. It was a surprisingly fragile piece of technology that was the foundation for all of the digital storage we have today. Dot matrix printers. Before the crisp lines of an inkjet and the silent efficiency of a laser printer, there was the gloriously noisy dot matrix printer. This wasn't a silent machine that sat on your desk. It was a loud, clattering beast that announced its presence with a cacophony of sound. The process was simple but effective. Tiny pins would strike an inked ribbon against the paper, creating characters and images out of a series of dots. The sound of the pins, the rhythmic whirring of the print head, and the satisfying tear of the perforated paper, these were all part of the experience. It was slow and deliberate, and the final result was a work of art, with a distinct, slightly pixelated look. The paper itself was an experience in itself, with its perforated edges that you could tear off with a satisfying rip. The dot matrix printer was a testament to a time when technology was loud, mechanical, and wonderfully tangible. It was a loud, proud relic of a bygone era. Dial-up modems. Before the broadband revolution, getting online was a physical, auditory experience that required patience and a healthy dose of nostalgia. The sound of a dial-up modem connecting to the internet was a symphony of static, screeches, and chirps, a distinct sound that still haunts the dreams of many a 90s kid. You'd have to dial a phone number, wait for the connection to be established, and then wait for the sweet, sweet sound of the internet. It was a slow and deliberate process, but it was worth it. The internet was a slow, deliberate place, with pages loading line by line, and you'd have to wait for a picture to load. You couldn't talk on the phone while you were online. The phone line was busy. The dial-up modem was the gatekeeper to the internet, a slow, noisy, but ultimately satisfying relic of a time when getting online was a journey, not a destination. Walkman. Before the iPod put 1,000 songs in your pocket, the Walkman was the king of portable music. This wasn't just a device, it was a cultural phenomenon that liberated music from the living room. The original Walkman was a marvel of miniaturization, a small box that fits snugly in your hand, allowing you to take your favorite cassette tapes wherever you went. It was a status symbol, a personal soundtrack that defined your identity. The act of listening was a tangible experience. You'd pop in a cassette, press the play button with a satisfying click, and the tape would begin to whir, a gentle hiss accompanying the music. Rewinding and fast-forwarding were manual affairs, often requiring a pencil to wind the spools if the tape got tangled. Flipping the tape over to side B was a necessary part of the ritual, a physical act that marked the midpoint of your listening journey. The Walkman's iconic design and simple functionality made it a cherished companion, a piece of technology that allowed a generation to carry their music with them, truly for the first time. Disposable cameras. In an era of instant gratification and endless selfies, it's hard to imagine a time when taking a picture required a commitment. The disposable camera was a marvel of technology, a single-use camera that allowed anyone to capture a moment. You'd have to wait a week for the photos to be developed, and you had no idea what you had captured until you picked them up. The thrill of getting your photos back, of reliving a moment that you had forgotten, was an experience that a digital camera just can't replicate. The camera was a simple plastic box, but it was a gateway to a world of memories. It was a testament to a time when photography was a craft, not just a quick snap. LaserDiscs. Before DVDs and Blu-rays, there was a magnificent dinner plate-sized beast called the LaserDisc. It was a stunning piece of technology that offered a pristine picture and high-quality sound, but it was a pain to use. The discs were huge and cumbersome, and you had to manually flip them to watch the second half of the movie. There was no skip button, no fast forward. It was a beautiful but frustrating piece of technology. The LaserDisc was a symbol of a time when high-quality home entertainment was a luxury, a beautiful piece of technology that was ahead of its time. 8-track tapes. Before the cassette tape, there was the 8-track tape, a bulky plastic cartridge that held a limited amount of music. It was a simple but effective way to listen to music on the go. The tapes would often get stuck, and you'd have to manually fast forward and rewind them. It was a clumsy but charming piece of technology. The 8-track tape was a symbol of a time when music was a tangible object, a beautiful piece of technology that was a stepping stone to the music we listen to today. Betamax. In the early days of home video, the landscape was dominated by a legendary format war between two rivals, VHS and Betamax. For a brief, shining moment, Betamax was the clear winner in terms of technology. Its video quality was superior, offering a sharper picture and richer colors than its VHS counterpart. The tapes were smaller, sleeker, and more elegant in design. It was a product for the tech connoisseur, the early adopter who valued performance above all else. However, Betamax's reign was short-lived. A crucial misstep, a shorter recording time on its tapes, proved to be its downfall. While Betamax could only record an hour of video, VHS quickly released tapes that could record for 2, and eventually 4, hours, making it the format of choice for recording movies and live television. The battle was ultimately won not by superior technology, but by practicality and market dominance. Betamax became the VHS's more talented but less popular sibling, a fascinating footnote in the history of home entertainment and a reminder that the best technology doesn't always win. Cassette tape adapters for cars. Before the rise of the AUX cord and Bluetooth, there was an ingenious little device that allowed you to listen to your music on the go. The cassette tape adapter was a simple plastic box that you would plug into your car's cassette player, and then you would plug your Walkman into the other end. It was a clumsy but effective way to listen to your music on the go. The adapter was a symbol of a time when technology was all about making things work, a beautiful piece of technology that was a testament to human ingenuity. Game Boy. Before smartphones and their vibrant high-definition screens, there was the Game Boy, a chunky, grey, handheld console with a pea-soup green dot matrix display. It was a marvel of portability that liberated gaming from the living room. The experience was simple and pure. Pop in a cartridge, flip the on switch, and get lost in a world of 8-bit adventures. The simple D-pad and 2-button controls were all you needed to play classics like Tetris or Super Mario Land. Its rugged design meant it could survive being dropped, stepped on, and buried under a pile of laundry. The Game Boy wasn't just a toy, it was a cultural phenomenon that united a generation of gamers, creating a shared experience long before online multiplayer was a thing. It was a testament to the fact that you don't need powerful hardware to have endless fun. Portable CD players. Discman. The successor to the Walkman, the portable CD player, famously known by Sony's brand name, Discman, was a technological leap forward, offering a new level of audio quality and convenience. The device itself was a sleek, circular wonder, a small case that opened to reveal the shimmering surface of a compact disc. Popping in a CD was a ritual of its own, a satisfying click followed by the whir of the disc as it spun up to speed. For a time, it was the ultimate impersonal audio, providing crystal clear sound that cassettes simply couldn't match. But this power came with its own set of challenges. The slightest jostle could cause a skip, turning a favourite song into a jarring, stuttering mess. Walking, running, or even riding in a bumpy car became a strategic effort to keep your tunes playing smoothly. Overhead projectors for transparencies. Before the rise of PowerPoint and digital presentations, there was the overhead projector, a giant, noisy machine that was a staple of classrooms and boardrooms. You would write on a clear plastic sheet with a special pen, and the machine would project the image onto a wall. It was a simple but effective way to share information. The overhead projector was a symbol of a time when technology was all about simplicity. Phone books. Before the internet put the world's information in our pockets, if you needed to find a person's number or a local business, you turned to a thick paper directory delivered to your doorstep. The phone book. These oversized, often yellow tomes were the original search engines, meticulously organized alphabetical lists of names, addresses, and phone numbers. They were heavy, cumbersome, and sometimes a pain to navigate, but they were also a vital resource. A worn phone book was a sign of a well-connected household, its pages dog-eared from frequent use. We'd use them to look up pizza places, find a doctor, or even to add a few inches to our height to get a better view. The phone book was a tangible database, a beautifully simple and effective piece of technology that became obsolete almost overnight, replaced by the digital convenience we now take for granted. Physical maps and atlases. Before the digital revolution and the ubiquitous glow of a GPS screen, navigating the world was a gloriously tactile and challenging experience, guided by the intricate folds of a physical map or the weighty pages of an atlas. These weren't just pieces of paper, they were our windows to the world, our tools for adventure, and a testament to the art of cartography. Imagine the ritual of unfolding a massive paper map, the satisfying rustle as you tried to orient yourself, the creases and tears a record of past journeys. Finding your way required a healthy dose of spatial awareness, a bit of deductive reasoning, and sometimes a friendly human to point you in the right direction. The atlas, with its meticulously detailed pages and vibrant colours, was a source of endless fascination, a portal to every corner of the globe. You could trace the rivers, locate the mountain ranges, and plan a hypothetical road trip across an entire continent, all from the comfort of your living room. The physical map was a symbol of a time when travel was an art form, a journey that began with a paper and pen. It was a beautiful but frustrating piece of technology, but it was a testament to a time when travel was an adventure, a beautiful piece of technology that was a testament to a time when travel was an experience. It was a time when the journey was as important as the destination, a time when getting lost was part of the fun. Manual typewriters. In a world of autocorrect and backspace buttons, it's hard to imagine writing a document where every keystroke was a physical, unchangeable act. The manual typewriter was a masterpiece of mechanical engineering, a loud and unapologetic instrument of creation. Each letter was a small hammer striking an inked ribbon, leaving a permanent mark on the paper. The rhythmic click-clack of the keys and the satisfying ding of the carriage return were the soundtrack of countless stories, letters, and reports. It demanded a certain discipline. A mistake meant a messy correction or, more often, a fresh start. There was a raw, visceral connection to the words as they appeared on the page. The manual typewriter wasn't just a tool, it was a partner in the creative process, a bold reminder that every word mattered, a beautiful, nostalgic relic of a bygone era. Personal digital assistants, PDAs. Before the smartphone, there was the PDA, a small, handheld device that was a precursor to the modern smartphone. It was a beautiful, but frustrating piece of technology. The PDA was a symbol of a time when technology was all about making things work, a beautiful piece of technology that was a testament to a time when technology was all about ingenuity. Public payphones. Before the cell phone became the ubiquitous appendage we all carry today, the public payphone was a crucial lifeline, a metal box on a street corner that served as a portal to the rest of the world. It was a gathering point, a symbol of a time when communication was a public experience and an essential tool for travelers, a person who was lost, or a person who needed to make a quick call. The payphone was a marvel of technology, a machine that could connect you to anyone in the world for a few coins. You would have to listen for the dial tone, dial the number, and then hope that the person you were trying to reach was home. The payphone was a beautiful but frustrating piece of technology. It was a time when communication was a public experience, a time when a simple phone call was a big deal. It was a time when you had to make a decision about whether you wanted to use a coin, a credit card, or a calling card. The payphone was a symbol of a time when communication was a public experience, a beautiful piece of technology that was a testament to a time when communication was a shared experience. It was a time when a simple phone call was a big deal, a time when you had to make a decision about whether you wanted to use a coin, a credit card, or a calling card. It was a time when a simple phone call was a big deal. Fax machines. Before the advent of email and instant messaging, the fax machine was the gold standard for transmitting documents across vast distances in a matter of minutes. This was a revolutionary concept, and the machine itself was a marvel of clunky, noisy technology. You would take a physical document, feed it into the machine, dial the number of the recipient's fax machine, and then listen as the gears whirred, the paper scanned, and the telltale electronic screeches of the data transfer filled the air. On the other end, the receiving machine would groan to life, spitting out a thermal paper replica of your original document. The quality was often grainy and smudged, but it was a miracle of speed and convenience compared to snail mail. The fax machine was the backbone of business communication for decades, used for contracts, invoices, and even personal letters. The standalone fax machine was a symbol of a time when communication was a physical experience, a beautiful piece of technology that was a testament to a time when communication was a tangible object. It was a time when a document was a physical object, a time when you had to make a decision about whether you wanted to send it by mail or by fax. It was a time when a document was a physical object, a time when you had to make a decision about whether you wanted to send it by mail or by fax. It was a time when a document was a physical object. CRT monitors, cathode ray tube. Before the sleek, flat screens of today, our digital world was viewed through the deep, heavy glass of a CRT monitor. These weren't just displays, they were bulky, power-hungry behemoths that occupied a significant portion of any desk. The iconic curved screen and the soft, audible hum were hallmarks of the early computing experience. The vibrant, deep colours and inky blacks were unmatched for their time, though a stray magnet could distort the screen with a psychedelic splash of colour. They had a distinct, satisfying flicker, and the warm static electricity they generated could literally stand your arm hairs on end. Hauling one of these monsters around felt like a full workout, a stark contrast to the effortless portability of modern screens. The CRT monitor was a physical anchor in our computing lives, a powerful symbol of an era when technology was tangible, heavy, and delightfully imperfect. Blockbuster and other physical video rental stores. Remember the thrill of a Friday night Blockbuster run? The vibrant blue and yellow, the rows and rows of movies, the smell of popcorn. For a generation, this was how we consumed entertainment. Blockbuster wasn't just a store, it was a cultural hub. Picking out a movie was an event, a shared experience that involved browsing, debating, and finally, that satisfying checkout. But it wasn't just Blockbuster. Remember the independent video stores? The mom and pop shops with their own unique charm and hidden gems? These places fostered a true love for film, often with knowledgeable staff who could recommend your next favourite movie. The rise of streaming services, while convenient, marked the end of an era. We lost that tangible connection to movies, that sense of discovery that came with physically walking through an aisle of cinematic possibilities. While the convenience of on-demand is undeniable, a part of us still yearns for the simpler times when movie night began with a trip to the video store. And there you have it, a trip down memory lane to a time when our tech was gloriously analog, wonderfully clunky, and always a little bit surprising. It's wild to think how far we've come in just a few decades. These gadgets weren't just tools. They were the physical embodiment of our lives. From the mixtapes we made for friends to the payphones we used to make a late-night call. What was your favourite piece of tech from the 80s or 90s? Share your nostalgic stories in the comments below. Smash that like button if you enjoyed this trip, and subscribe for more journeys into the weird and wonderful world of tech history.